So I welcome all of you for the Kalalgoda English Medium Retreat. So now it's the time for question and answer session. So I invite to present the written questions first.
Bhante, there are altogether 7 questions.
Okay.
5 on sitting and walking meditation, 2 on practicing mindfulness on day-to-day activities.
Okay.
Okay. So I will start with meditation, sitting and walking.
Yes.
This question is on walking meditation. She or he has written it as 2 parts, as A and B. So the A, in walking meditation, I have been asked to walk at my normal pace and know that I am walking. When I practiced this way, for a few weeks, I noticed that I was observing my body moving.
Yes.
The B, my question to you, Venerable Bhante, is if I should continue in this manner or focus attention on the movements of the right and left feet and also note the sensations on my feet as opposed to the above way. First she is just walking.
So I think we'll answer that first. So
a little more there on the question.
Okay, yes.
A seems to be more Kayanupassana and B more Vedananupassana. Please elaborate on this. Thank you.
Yeah, actually both Kayanupassana and Vedananupassana both comes under the same Satipatthana. So both are valid. So we don't need to have any kind of that something is better than the other. There is no such thing. Everything is really interesting tools to develop our inner qualities like mindfulness. So actually we can say that mindfulness develops in various ways. So when you are paying more focused attention to your soles, to your feet, so it has some limited area. So you are more concentrating your attention to a very small scope, small space, small area. So you have the capacity to get more subtle detail. But on the other hand, when you have some bird's eye view, say considering fair amount of, say, the whole body, there are various sensations arising throughout the body while walking. So that's another aspect. But at the beginning it is better, if you are a beginner, it is better to keep your attention at the feet, because there are certain things that we can learn from that practice. One thing is, if we immediately go to the broader aspect, seeing that whole body, seeing the various other sort of many sensations, there's a tendency that our mindfulness can scatter. But at the beginning, if we are simply focusing our attention to the soles, to the feet, to the toes, likewise very limited area, so that requires some kind of effort. So it is necessary to have very sort of fair amount of attention at the beginning, because otherwise we can't collect our mind. So once our minds are collected, properly directed towards a fairly small region, then we have the capacity to see these little details, small details, subtle details, and again not only the details, ultimately even the characteristics, how these details are changing to the common characteristics. So these are advantages. But as you develop this mindfulness, it does not stay to that limited area, but it will slowly enhance, slowly develop, and your scope will further enhance. That means your area of attention at the beginning may be limited, but later on it will expand to cover the whole body. So I think that way we have a kind of a path which we allow to start from something that we can comprehend, we can target to some little area, and then allow it to slowly improve and enlarge, and then we have a broader scope. So I think that would be the approach that we have to take. Anyway, now as you develop mindfulness more and more, so ultimately you will come to a very broader perspective that you don't need to effortfully or deliberately put your attention to the soles or to the legs or even to the foot, but naturally now mindfulness, naturally, it is not through your effort, but naturally now mindfulness captures the whole body. So it has to happen naturally. So at the beginning we are concentrating, we are keeping our attention at limited area, but afterwards it is naturally growing to wider space. Yes.
This is again on walking meditation. Thero Saranai. While I was doing walking meditation today, suddenly this happened. I instructed my mind to walk with my feet. Left mind, right mind, so on. The mind was very obedient, and mine and my feet walked together for about 20 minutes. I was surprised when my mind tried to go out of control. I ordered, "No, walk with my feet." Mind was very obedient. Bhante, is this method wrong? Please advise with metta.
Yes, so you have metta at the end. So that's good. So anyway, so as we control, as we practice, we gain some amount of control. So that is fairly okay. But at the beginning, mind is not at all tamed. We feel like we can't control. But as you practice again and again, developing attention, developing mindfulness. So as a result of it, so we start to gain some kind of control towards our attention, towards our concentration. So it is a must to have. That is why say at the beginning, so we say left, right. So every time the object changes and we are directing our attention to left foot, we are directing our attention to right foot, we are directing our attention to left foot, directing our attention to right foot. So in a way, from the beginning we are trying to do a little bit of controlling, but mind can't obey us because it has more interest than about these objects. It has more interest in the outside, so it is going away. But later on, mind naturally calms down. It finds its calmness, it finds its tranquility inside the body, and then mind become tamed. Mind become very obedient. So wherever we want to keep our mind, then it will stay there. So it is necessary. So that is why, so when it comes to vipassana, so there may be any kind of sensation all around the body. So we can't predict where it will arise. So immediately when it arises, we should have the capacity to immediately keep our attention at that particular place. So that means we need to have that control. That controllability has to be built up. So if you have that capacity now already built up, it's a good sign. So now use that ability. But later on, we simply, you will come to a stage that now at the moment you are sort of using this technique, you are using this controllability and everything, but later on as you develop further and further, you let things happen, you allow things to happen, and you let the mind to sort of behave as it wish, as it likes, and then you do kind of distance observation and see how it behaves. So it's varying actually. It's difficult to say that we always have to keep this controllability, and it is the path. But at the beginning we don't have any controllability. So due to the practice later we get the controllability and we are using it. And after we develop further and further, say especially mindfulness and wisdom, and then with the equipped mind, with the strengthened mind, then we allow the mind to wander. Then we allow the mind to behave as it wish, and we are slowly or rather remotely watching where it going, either to this object or the other object, and then that jump, that wandering itself becomes the raw material for your meditation. So it's a kind of a beautiful path. So we are sort of going through various phases in this practice.
This is on sitting on breath. By birth, one of my nostrils is blocked, and recently corrective operation was carried out. Afterwards, I could recognize both in-breath and out-breath while meditation, anapana. But sometimes I cannot feel the out-breath, and this effect to a certain extent on the primary objective. Please advise me in outcoming this situation.
Yeah, actually, if it is hard due to certain other sort of difficult situation, difficult reasons which you have no control, then actually you can change the object. So it is not a must to use in-breath and out-breath. Anapanasati is not the only method. So you can shift to rising and falling and keep your attention at the abdomen and use that as your primary object. So it's no problem at all. So now you are telling that you have certain physical sort of trouble in concentrating in the left nostril. So basically, rather than, if you are getting to somewhere, if you are improving, no harm. But you can try to shift your attention totally to the abdominal movement, rising and falling, and you will get more comfortable than struggling with anapanasati. So just as a sort of experiment, you can do it for 1 or 2 days and see whether you can use rising and falling as your primary object, because it is not a big deal at all. Because if you have some capacity to develop mindfulness using anapanasati, then it is quite easy to shift your focus point to abdomen. So it's a matter of shifting it. So it's the same process happening with rising and falling. So I would like you to ask to shift it and see. So if it is more comfortable and you don't go through any complications, then proceed with rising and falling. Yes.
This has 2 parts, walking and sitting. So I'll read walking first. Most Venerable Bhante, walking meditation. When I walk slowly, I am aware of the heel touching the floor or ground, followed by sole touching the ground from heel to toes. I can keep awareness on the touch of left foot and then the right foot, but I cannot be aware of the lifting and movement of the foot. I can be aware of the lifting and movement of foot only when I walk very slowly. I try to be aware of it. I try to be aware as if it is not I who is moving the foot, but then the foot is moving on its own. Please advise me if this method is correct.
Actually, it is good. These questions comes only when you are really with the scene. Now you know that the 2 legs are in kind of a synchronization. So while one is working, the other one does not stay still, but rather it also has its own movements. So while that one moving, the other one also has its own movements. So it's a kind of a parallel process going on. So still our mindfulness is capable of catching all these multidimensional things. Say it's kind of multitasking. Our brain is capable of doing it. So that's why while one foot is lifting forward and the other one is now getting ready to lift up. So that is there. Now you understood it, and it's quite interesting. There are various ways. I think if you feel it's a bit confusing and it is difficult and it leads to some kind of distractions, then you can simplify your practice. So rather than seeing all these various things, so you can simply keep your attention just during the touching sensation, say left foot is touching, at that time either the right foot is already touched or it may be lifted. So only one touch, one direct touch, one main impact available at that time. So at that time you keep your full attention to left foot. And then the right foot lifted up and then it is touching. So forget about the lifting part, moving part, but be more attentive about the touching part. Now the right foot is touching the ground and you can fully aware of that touching sensation, touch sensations. And again now the left foot is rising, lifting up, moving, and then again it is touching. Now you fully aware of the touching. So this way you can further simplify your practice and there is no harm. Because basically if our mind can be more simple, very relaxed, and simply observing what is happening under your very nose, now you are further simplified your practice. So simplified practice takes you to more deep, higher depths. So, and again there's a sort of tendency. So when the practice is more simple, if you can't appreciate it, mind starts wandering. So in this time, now we don't have much interest about the other movements. Rather, we are only concerned about the touching sensation. So in between two touch sensations, there is a fair amount of gap. In between that gap, the mind might wander. So you have to look at. So if it is not wandering, then it's again a beautiful practice, because your mind know some other aspect of meditation. Now in walking meditation, fair amount of doing is involved. So you have to do something. You have to lift your leg, move your leg, again move it down, and then is touch the foot, touch the ground, and you have to keep your balance. There are a lot of intentional movements are there. But in this way, once it is more simplified and your attention is only limited to one characteristic, so there is a fair amount of space. And if you can keep your mind well relaxed in between this space, then you are developing further kind of tranquility. So you can take an advantage from that. So you are maintaining some tranquility, and while during that tranquility, now your left foot is touching. So you have the capacity to fully capture that touch sensation. Again, there's a fair amount of resting period. Now your right foot is touching. Now you are fully embracing that touch sensation, that experience. Now there's a gap. Again, now your left foot is touching. Now you are experiencing that. Now this way you feel more and more relaxed. But while your mind is relaxed, you are now getting more energized to receive your next touch sensation. So you can utilize that also. But on the other hand, if you feel that you feel bored, or you feel sort of lazy, or you feel drowsy, then you can improve, you can add more information. Okay, left foot is touching, now it is lifting, now it is moving, now it is placing. So likewise, there are many activities available. You have to order your mind to see every detail. So you have to occupy your mind. So these two sides you can use effectively. So you have to do some kind of experiment when to use kind of simplified practice, and when to use a little bit complicated, not really complicated, but with fully occupied practice. So both are actually useful.
Okay. General question regarding sitting meditation. When my mind has been occupied by past events, I find that my awareness of breath breaks off within a few seconds. Although I start again and again, but it is not so if I do walking meditation for some time before sitting meditation. When my mind is agitated and awareness, mindfulness breaks off from breath, I sometimes breathe intentionally and keep mindfulness at nostrils. After a little while, mindfulness remains on breath at nostrils even when I stop intentional breathing. Please advise whether what I do is all right. Most Venerable Sir, may you be healthy, may you attain Nibbana as you intend. So sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
So, I mean, no harm. Actually, Buddha is sort of encouraging to use any kind of skillful practice. So, if your technique is more conducive to your development, to improve your mindfulness, to improve concentration, then no harm. So, all these techniques are to develop inner qualities. So, techniques are techniques, just tools. It is not that we have to sort of fight for techniques or to find out that one is sort of not good for me and other is good. So it's all are practical points. So we can experiment with various tools and see which one is more fitting to me. So as this one explains, as this yogi explains, so intentional breathing, sometimes I also have seen that many teachers advise at the beginning, take deep breath. Okay, so it is intentionally deep breath, forceful breath. No harm. Couple of times you do it and you collect yourself. You understand, or rather you sort of gather your momentum to your body, to yourself, and now you are in a more fairly ready state to practice, to develop mindfulness. But at the beginning you do some deep breathing, okay, fully deep breathing and slowly exhaling. Again deep breathing in and then slowly exhaling. So it has some other aspects also. I have read that it has some biological changes also. So there are such benefits as also available. So after that, anyway, then you have to let the breathing happen naturally. So it is only for few minutes that you do this forceful or intentional breathing, but later on, as your mindfulness develops, once it is catching up, you have to let the breathing to be more natural. So you are simply, body is breathing naturally and you are simply watching it carefully. So that's the way we have to go in the long run. Because intentional breathing or forceful breathing cannot take you long, because if you may feel exhausted. So therefore, at the beginning it is useful. If you find it is useful, then you can do it. And as you said, some amount of walking meditation before going to sitting definitely will be helpful. So therefore, we always encourage, do some walking meditation first and then you go to the sitting meditation. Then your sitting will be more successful. And after a successful sitting, once you go to walking session, the walking also will be successful. So they are helping each other. So this I recommend what he or she has taken. So please continue, so there is no harm. Yes.
Theruvan Saranai, Most Venerable Bhante, sitting session, watching in-out breath. This morning I was able to sit and watch my breath for about 1.5 hours. However, once the concentration sets in, various thoughts, wholesome and unwholesome, started coming in. In some cases, I was aware that those are due to craving, but I could not help it, as one after another kept coming through. I was fully aware that I was supposed to watch the breath. During entire 1.5 hours, my head was tilting forward and I was adjusting it time to time. However, at times in different sittings, I experienced the calmness and managed to watch the breath and watch the empty space like a thin, though not very often. There are days that my mind does not allow me to sit at least for half an hour. I feel like getting up from the chair and go. Understand that nothing is constant and the changing nature, but would like to know what I am lacking As my practice varies from a beginner's result and then to some other stages. May you achieve all your Dhamma desires in this life itself.
So can you repeat the question, the first part?
This morning I was able to sit and watch my breath for about 1.5 hours. However, once the concentration sets in, various thoughts, wholesome and unwholesome, started coming in.
Okay.
In some
Yes. So there are due to certain many reasons it can happen. So if it happens once your concentration sets in, so there's a possibility that now the what you call as asava influxes are now get into sort of operation. So they comes up. So at the beginning you are going through a very good meditation, calming down, you are being mindful, in breath out breath, you are fully concentration, you are fully successful, and you come to a very fairly concentrated state or calm state, and you are maintaining it for a few minutes, and all of a sudden many thoughts starts coming up. So it can happen. So it is not that you are all of a sudden lost your mindfulness, but it's a time that these influxes are touched, influxes are now coming up. So at that time, don't worry about it. So don't think that you are going through some kind of breaking up or losing your attention, losing your concentration, losing your mindfulness. It is not. It is a kind of a catharsis happening. So you allow it to happen. So you simply watch, now things are coming up. Even it is not necessary to see the content. The content may be extremely irrelevant things. It may be your past memories, future these projections, various things, and not worthy of even seeing what is there. So you simply allow and let it go. You simply let it go, and after these thoughts go away, then again you come to a very calm state, which is more beautiful than the previous state. So that can happen. But on the other hand, as you are sort of practicing, so time to time you have these fairly concentrated states, and again wandering mind, again concentrated states, again wandering mind. So this is up and down. So let it happen. So as a beginner also, this is available. So don't worry. So this is the way it is naturally developing. And as you move again and move forward, so you will develop more in mindfulness, and then how long you would stay in these thoughts, how long your mind is distracted, so that period will reduce. So immediately when your mind shifted, you will know. So then you are able to bring it back. So that is how it develops. Yeah. So any other question? Yeah.
There are two more on day-to-day mindfulness practicing.
Yes.
Okay. Dear Venerable Bhante, generally we are told to be mindful of what we are doing in all our actions. In that case, attending to washing face and personal hygiene and eating food, etc. must be done mindfully. However, I do all my planning for the day while I do the above automotive activities. These actions are so familiar, I can do it automatically. How should I allocate time to do mindful planning? Will I have to sit down specially to do it? How can I save that time?
So actually these little things, I don't know whether can you hear? Okay. So these little things also catching up mindfulness. Because sometimes I found, now if I allow simply the body to do as it likes, then I might lose mindfulness. Like say brushing teeth, just walking to a room, just say putting the clothes or robes to the line. So like these are very natural, very simple tasks. So these simple tasks sort of happens automatically when you, and sort of habitually. But if you are trying to be attentive, if you are trying to be mindful on these simple tasks, your mindfulness improve. Because now these simple tasks become kind of a neutral actions. So you know that there are sort of actions. Some actions give you a lot of satisfaction. Those are energizing you and you get thrills and all. So it naturally we get attracted to those actions. And some other actions you get sort of frustrated and you feel painful and you go through some pain, and those type of things are also there. So both actually are the extremes, and you actually can develop mindfulness naturally with those extremes because they are sort of considerably strong. But these actions, these simple actions, you allow to happen automatically, and your mind get distracted to some other thing. So you are simply driving and you are thinking something else. You are simply walking inside your room and while planning something else. And you are simply sitting down, and while sitting down your mind is with something else. So Buddha says, while standing, just know that you are standing. While sitting, you know how you are sitting. While walking, you know how you are walking. And he further says, when you are looking forward, be mindful, clearly comprehending. So when you are looking around, be mindful. He says, when you are tasting food, be mindful. When you are putting up clothes, be mindful. When you are defecating, when you are urinating, be mindful. So he is using all these very simple activities. All are very simple activities, day-to-day activities. So this is what we are doing in a routine way. And he is asking us to keep attention to all these routine work. Those are not special work. So special work, naturally we do fairly mindfully. So say if you are going to a shop and you are selecting something. So you are fully focused. You are more attentive. Your mind, the work is catching you. But the simple activities you do without mindful. So when you are, as meditators, we need to be, if we are able to keep our attention to these simple activities, very simple things, then our mindfulness develop. So there's a question at the end, I think. Can't remember it now.
How will I allocate time to do mindful planning?
Planning, yes. So mindful planning. So we need to know the extent, because sometimes when we are planning, so at the beginning we are mindful. Okay, we know that we are doing planning. Okay, I am doing this thing on tomorrow and that thing on that tomorrow and this thing on tomorrow, like this. Now I am maintaining mindfulness. All of a sudden there's an activity which is more attractive, was catching your attention, and now your stand gone away and you are now fully with the activity. So you are thinking, okay, I will meet him and he will tell me like this. If he tell me like that, I will tell him like this. Then I will assume like this. So I will produce this. I will tell that. So now I am fully in a kind of a dream. So at the beginning you had your mindfulness, but later on you lost it. So therefore I feel so we need to be little careful how to maintain our mindfulness, and when we are losing it, especially when planning. So there are certain activities which are more attractive, requires more your attention, most of your brain. So those activities take you fully. So you get lost in those activities. So it's quite difficult sometimes to maintain your one step at the mindful state and then allow the mind to do the planning. But sometimes this step lost and you are fully with the object and you lost in the object. But later on you have to establish mindfulness and again come back to the present moment. So I feel it is we have to go through it. While going through it, we will understand, okay, when I am losing mindfulness. So when am I able to maintain mindfulness? What are the activities I will be lost? What are the actions that I am being lost and being carried away with the action? And what are the activities that I can calm and quietly do while maintaining mindfulness? So we need to do some kind of investigation and to see what are my say in a way lost points, what are still, where am I losing, so what are the areas that I need to further strengthen. So it's a kind of a investigation that we need to do.
Theruvan Saranai. I am forwarding this note in order to state how mindfulness helped me to overcome a problem that I faced since the last retreat. I was disturbed by some people over a trivial matter. However, listening to Dhamma talks delivered by Venerable Dhammajiva Thero and you as well, I was able to withstand the disturbances caused by being mindful. Even to have kind thoughts, within brackets metta, was not that easy at a time like this. However, being mindful helped me to stay calm. I thank you and Loku Swamin Wahanse for the valuable advice given to us from time to time. That's all.
Yeah, good. I mean, now actually mindfulness is a big topic all around the world. Now it is being used in the stress reduction, it's used in the psychology, and it's used in the various areas. So it's a hot topic these days. So it becomes the coconut taile, so to use for everything. So anyway, so actually there are very good points. So as you develop mindfulness, Satipatthana, then Dhamma will take you further. Actually, we start with mindfulness, and as you develop mindfulness, so it is taking various other friends as well. So it is not alone then. So we start with it, but later it is taking concentration as a friend, it's taking wisdom as a friend, it's taking effort as a friend. So it is more empowering. So we become sort of more powerful spiritually, internally. And then it is not only mindfulness, there are various things that we get. So as you go on in Vipassana, so mindfulness will immediately show. So what is happening? Then you have the developed wisdom and you know what is the right action to do. So that is how I feel that you are developing. So that is how now even say simple metta might not work, but the mindfulness practice work. It is not just because mindfulness, but mindfulness is taking various other friends, and these friends are more helping mindfulness, and they are sort of interrelated, helping each other and working in a very good harmony. Say for example, say some bad feeling comes, say a kind of negative feeling comes, angry thought comes. So immediately the developed mindfulness will show it. Okay, now mind is going to this one. So and again your wisdom is there. So wisdom will know what is the exact action to do. And if your mindfulness is more powerful, then it's a matter of simply taking your sort of attention. You bring up your attention, you establish mindfulness, and directs your attention to that angry thought, and the angry thought will simply fades away. And say you are going through some other difficult situation, and sometimes you have to do nothing. So you simply have to endure it. You simply have to be patient with it. So sometimes certain places are there, it requires your action. So how can you know whether to endure it or to be patient with it, or you need to intervene and to take an action? So it's very difficult to handle. So because if someone tells, okay, don't do any action, just be, so then that is also very passive. But sometimes you require some of your involvement. There are certain areas that you have to contribute, you have to work. So it is, I believe, the wisdom part help us to find out okay, when I need to be patient, when I need to be just relax and wait, and what are the areas or what are the times that I need to come forward, what are the times that I need to take an action. So I feel it takes time, and with time you will, in a way it is mindfulness showing us, okay, now it is a time to be patient. Don't do any action, take any action. And now is the time to take an action, and what is the action to do? So mindfulness, wisdom, and that empty mind will tell you perfectly. So that calm environment, sort of clear, sort of clarity of your mind has a more capacity to take the correct action. So rather than if you are in a sort of mind with a lot of corruptions, lot of sort of entanglements, lot of disturbance, then the action that you are taking is mostly wrong. But when you have fairly calm down mind, sort of empty mind, so that mind has the capacity to see the best action to do, and that will come from the bottom of your heart, and mostly it is the correct action, the right action to do. So I think these are certain spiritual qualities helping each other and acting in harmony, and ultimately we become sort of successful human beings. Yeah. So actually that is all the written questions. So if you have any other question, we can ask. You can ask. So there are a few minutes left. So if you have any other question, so please. Yes. So anything to Vilhara to share? 3 months was the period. So okay, I think we are being a little disturbed from the rain. So anyway, so we can have our this today's Dhamma talk maybe around 4 p.m. Is it the convenient time, or what's the convenient time? 4 o'clock? Yes, 4 o'clock. Yes. So then we'll have the Dhamma sermon at 4 p.m. So till that, so please use the inside since we can't use outside. So I wish you all the best. Yeah. Okay. On that.